Hey, welcome everyone to another edition of TGG Cares. This is where we like to spotlight nonprofits in our area and in our community that are doing amazing things for our community and the people of our community. And I am super excited to be joined by Ellie of the Union Gospel Mission. And your title is?
Marketing and communication, we'll just say director. It'll make it easier for everybody.
Okay, there's a lot more in there. She basically does everything there. And
again, my role is just internal and external communication for the mission. So anytime we're communicating to the community of our needs or volunteer opportunities, or even flyers, brochures, things that people might receive in the mail.
Yep.
We do a newsletter quarterly, so just kind of all of those things. And then also making sure that our website and social media are up to date. And then our volunteer program.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot.
there's a lot.
There's always a lot. And you guys have had a really fun-filled start to your year this year. Maybe explain kind of what, shortly after Christmas, correct, is when it happened?
Yeah, so I'll start with the positive side of
there we
everything.
go.
Okay, Christmas Day, we were able to serve over 1,500 to 2,000 families in Sioux Falls who needed clothing and toys for Christmas. So on Christmas Day, we hosted 3 different services: chapel, meal service, and a toy and clothing distribution.
Wow.
So that was amazing.
And how many total people?
Over 2,000 people we were able to serve this year.
That is amazing.
It's definitely progressed from, I guess the mission, I learned something really new over Christmas. The mission has been doing a Christmas giveaway for at least 20 to 30 years. And we're also the second oldest gospel mission in the country, so 122 years old.
That's awesome.
So we've been doing this Christmas giveaway, but as far as the community really involved, it's only been about 3 years where we've proactively said, this is what we're going to do.
Yep.
This is what we need. And so it was amazing to, on Christmas Day, to give out all those things to the community, because we're serving a huge need in Sioux Falls. We're not just talking about the homeless community. We're talking about a lot of families who are less fortunate, who cannot afford toys, or who cannot afford boots or snow pants,
gloves, socks.
Oh my goodness! So on Christmas Day we did that, and then the day after Christmas, So long story short is, and again you can maybe we'll pin some comments of some of the news stories, but. We have 3 levels to the mission, and then we have a basement level. So basically our third level, our top level of the mission, the pipe burst because of that extreme cold snap that we had.
Negative 50 degrees, wind.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So we had that really cold snap, and then everything thawed. That's when the pipes actually burst, and then it caused a kind of a ripple effect. So at first we thought it was just the one pipe on the 3rd floor. It was actually a lot. It's become a lot more since the insurance and all the inspectors and everything have been in. So the pipes burst, and it basically flooded the third of our building.
Ugh.
So from
and
that,
if you haven't been there,
it's a quarter acre, so it's huge.
Yeah, it is. Like every door you walk through, it's like a football field of just a building. I mean, it's so much space, and so when you start talking, water trickling down from 3 floors. I mean, it's a huge space, and just a big mess, more or less, is what it created.
So it was a disaster.
Yeah.
Thankfully, so that 3rd floor was set aside for family housing, which is a $620,000 project.
Yep.
We were in phase 1.
Yes.
So we didn't have any walls up or any bedding or anything. So thankfully, we are now able to use the insurance deductibles and all the things that have now progressed for that floor to now go to moving again back into phase 1, phase 2 of construction.
Yeah.
So it'll house 15 families. In addition, our women's center is below that, so that's 48 women and children.
Wow.
And then our main office is that first level.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to now moving forward. Again, there's a lot ahead of us as far as construction and work.
Yeah.
But again, we're trying to be positive and look at the positive things that have happened, like Christmas Day, and then even how the community has been able to support us, and even being invited to come and talk with you today helps us to bring that awareness on what we're doing, because it does take all of us as a community to do our part.
Yeah.
Whether you're coming and serving, or maybe you're serving meals. There's all kinds of different ways that we can
Yeah.
help. And again, just bringing awareness to this. We're one of many shelters in the city,
Yeah.
but we're doing a lot together
Yeah.
to, obviously kind of get the mission back open because we're
Yep.
closed right now for the Women's Center, the Thrift Store and Distribution Center.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I want to talk more about that because
Okay.
that's what's so cool is every nonprofit that we have on here, you start seeing how you're all connected, how you work together, how if somebody gets a donation. So we'll kind of get back to that and just the impact that that has. But I do think it's important to talk about. You talk about this situation, which is could be devastating or could have been devastating, but really just the perfect timing of it, like you said, and if you call it, a positive spin on it. But the fact that you were still able to serve 2,000 families, individuals on Christmas Day. So it
Right.
happened after that. It didn't affect any of that. And it happened right before this huge construction
Right. We were starting in the
project
spring. Yeah.
was going to be done. And so it identified problems before you had that all finished and had people in there and had to displace them. So in a weird way, it's like, man, what good timing
Yeah.
to have all that.
And
you
again,
know?
it goes back to, I'm sure you guys, at Embrace speak about this. I don't know what your vision is, but, our vision, our mission at Union Gospel Mission is caring for the needs of the community with compassion while sharing the hope of Jesus Christ. That's in everything we do. And so obviously, in any disaster, obviously this was devastating that we had to, temporary house our women and children and, close the thrift store. But those are all things that we can replace.
Yeah.
The greatest part is that nobody was hurt. Like you said, nothing was like damaged in the middle of the night where it affected them because it was on that top level above the women's shelter. They were able to have kind of the alarms and everything go off so that they could evacuate. And so so God's hand was on everything.
Yeah.
And even though it's been hard for us to start the new year, we're also grateful for the community support.
Yeah.
And we're grateful because God always has a way of showing us through people's in-kind donations or people even coming, all the phone calls that we've received. I can't tell you how many emails or even text messages just to say, hey, we're praying for you guys. And it just means so much. I'm going to try not to cry because it does. It really, it affects all of our staff. And so, we're just keep moving forward. And staying positive.
Yeah.
And then also just communicating what we're doing so that the community knows how they can help us.
Yeah. No, that's great. One way that you can help, and it's a big need, our team actually did it as kind of I wouldn't say necessarily a team building, but it always ends up being some form of a team building, is where we went over to the building that got flooded and we just made ourselves available for a couple of hours and what can we do to help. And it was really cool when we were there. There was a team from another church that was there and then some other looked like just individuals that were they just had some free time and they wanted to come help as well. So if you are looking for ways to help right now, again, just a big mess down there to clean up. And so the more hands to help with that, we laid out clothes that were in the thrift store, that were in the bins. And again, there's some really cool stuff that you guys are doing with the recycled clothing and things like that. But we just laid out clothing on the tables for it to dry because it all got wet. And so something really simple, but yet
it makes a big difference.
If it was one person doing that, you just would give up, I think.
Yeah. So another great positive part about, I know it's so weird because people are like, why are you so positive? Because we want to be positive in how we're able to use what we have or what we've gone through, right? So all of the clothing in the thrift store was completely damaged, obviously with the water. And so we were able to dry all the clothing and bale, so recycle that clothing. And I think we're at 23 bales that we've been able to make. So one bale is 5 pallets of clothing. We're able to bale that. Basically, it's a square bale of clothing, and there's a story from Simplified. You can look at it. But we're reducing the amount of waste by doing that. We were doing that anyway, but because of the disaster, we had to obviously do more bales. So we're able to recycle and reuse 23 bales of clothing.
Yeah.
And then the other part, because we talked about Christmas Day, the additional clothing and items that we had for Christmas Day did not get damaged. So the people that actually donated the clothing and the gloves and all the stuff, that was on the other side of the building, kind of where you guys were helping a little bit. So that's all now this week and next week going to be transitioned to the thrift store so we can actually use it as some of that supplemental clothing.
Just to have stuff available for people.
Yeah, because we're basically starting all over.
Yeah.
So the main focus, again, just briefly, is focusing on the women's center is our priority to get that open and get our women back to the mission. And then secondly is just to get that thrift store reopened, because our community assistance program is free and a lot of people in the community use that. So it's really crucial that we get the store back together and we can get that back open for all the people who keep knocking on our doors. You know, they need help.
Especially this time of year when gloves, boots, coats, all that stuff. So I want to circle back on just the connection between, because I think right now your women's center, a lot of them are staying at the St. Francis house.
Yep, that's correct.
Right? Okay.
Most of them are there.
So, we love the St. Francis house, had them on a couple of months ago, and just love what they do as well. But the cool part, like I said, is that you all are working together. So when something like this happens, an unfortunate thing happens, they're able to help. But St. Francis house, when we had them on, they had, I think it was 1,000 gallons of bleach that got donated to them or something.
Wow.
And then
that's very helpful.
And then they're dispersing it to people, so or to other organizations that are in need of that. So let's talk about that, of why that's so important, not only for the nonprofits, but maybe for our community, that the nonprofits communicate and work together as well.
Oh my gosh, I could spend a lot of time on that.
That was kind of a big question. You have 1 minute. No, I'm
1
kidding.
minute. So collaboration is key.
Yeah.
I think as I spoke into, the mission alone, we've been around for 122 years, right? We're the second oldest gospel mission. I know a lot of other nonprofits in our Sioux Falls area. I don't know how old they are, but I know they've been around for a long time. And I would say, just speaking into that collaboration effort, for the longest time, the mission was only known as a soup kitchen. And so as we've kind of progressed as a mission, we've kind of evolved into, with new leadership kind of coming on about 3 years ago, and really just being more intentional about how can we end homelessness in Sioux Falls. And in order to do that, there has to be collaboration. So speaking into anywhere from our CEO's meeting, monthly, to our community health workers and our case managers, they're as organizations they're meeting, but then we also meet individually too as our own organizations. So internal and external. And just the more that we continue to do that, we can address certain things like the shelter, housing, the food, inflation, all the things that affect all of us, because it does affect all of us. And then just coming down to the biggest thing, we don't want anybody to be homeless if we can help it. We all have different programs, right? Our programs are 30, 60, 90, and 120-day stays, whereas St. Francis is more of a permanent housing. It's a little bit different. Bishop Dudley would be more similar to us, where it's more of emergency shelter, right? So I guess the biggest thing when it comes to collaboration is, how can we as an organization, this is what we've been focusing on, is building that community awareness in the city of Sioux Falls, so that people know, like organizations and churches, you play a huge part in all of this. How can you help serve us and serve the people that we serve? So that could be, again, anywhere from really partnering with us. When I say us, I'm just saying a lot of the nonprofits that we serve the same people. So I am speaking about the St. Francis House, the Bishop Dudley, even the banquet, serving as many meals as they do. Other, maybe Glory House could even be part of that too. And then other supporting ministries like Call to Freedom. We have guests that have been trafficked or domestic violence, things like that. So it's our whole goal, especially for moving into 2023, is you'll see a lot more collaboration. So when you know that there's a need for St. Francis with bleach or whatever, there's typically a need for all of us with that same thing because there's a shortage happening. So we really try to do the best to, and I'm saying all of us, I'm speaking for all of us right now, to give to each other. If we have too much of something, we're also helping each other. So we really want to take care of what God has given to us and steward it well.
Yeah. Well, and I think it just helps, say, somebody that has something to give. Well, who needs it? Right? Where do I take it?
Where's the biggest need?
Where's the biggest need, and where's it going to have the biggest impact? And that's, again, whether you have a connection at the gospel mission, wherever. Right. I think it's good to know that you can just bring it.
And one of us will use it.
And you guys know who needs it or how to disperse it or, how to make it go as far as possible for our community as a whole.
Especially like considering we're dealing with a lot of different things right now. Housing obviously is like one of our biggest hurdles in Sioux Falls at the moment. I know for a lot of communities, but there's always urgent needs that each of us need at any given time, year round or even just monthly or when it gets these cold seasons, there's certain things that we do need. So we're just doing a better job of communicating as organizations. And we're trying to, again, address the holistic approach of mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional. So there's a lot of things that people deal with it when it comes to trauma. And that's probably what I'd say when we collaborate, we're very intentional about addressing the needs first, and then let's talk about even goals for this year, like how can we continue to end homelessness in Sioux Falls? Because again, we see a lot of the same individuals, but we want to end the cycle of homelessness for them, whether it's a family or whether it's an individual. We want to get them through the program and then connect them with the churches. That's why it's so important. Our church partnerships with over 500 churches. So we're very intentional about the spiritual development aspect of the mission too, because it's who we are. We're a gospel mission. So the gospel is always in everything we do.
That's awesome. Well, we've maybe hit on a bunch of it, but what is there a specific need right at this moment that you guys are feeling or would be a huge help?
I think the biggest need, again, it comes back to we want to get our women's shelter open. So right now we're kind of just doing a lot of cleaning and preparing for the shelter to be open at the mission. So our biggest need is volunteers to come and help us get the new 48 beds put together. And then also stocking all of our library of books that we've now received donations and towels and things like that. As far as things we need, I guess I would say probably monetary is the biggest thing because we have a lot of different needs in different areas and different departments. So financially is, it's I think $100,000 was our initial goal, and now it's way exceeded that because we moved from the lower, we've moved to a certain level of damage to a high level now of damage after the adjusters have been
after
in.
you figured out really.
So between 300 to 500,000 is more of the goal now, whereas like last couple of weeks we've been saying 100,000. So it's just continuing to pray, and if you feel that urge to give, to support the mission, it does go directly to the women's shelter first, and then the thrift store and the distribution center. So we can keep our doors open. We can get our women and children back to the shelter.
And do what you guys do. So I would just encourage all of you that every little bit counts. So like I said, our team went there for an hour or two, and it was. I think we made some damage.
I know you felt like it was small, but it was big.
And that's what I mean. It's like even if you just have an hour to volunteer or $20 to give, all of that adds up. And it's just this collaboration of everyone coming together to help out, volunteering, giving, helping, whatever way you can. So no donation is too small, no amount of time volunteered is too little. All of it helps. And again, just thank you guys for coming on and just for all that you do. And I just love seeing our community kind of, when those stories came out, just rally around what you guys are doing and what your mission is and helping you get open as soon as possible. So we hope that happens sooner rather than later. So
yeah, and I would just even add to what you said. What we want more, I mean, obviously monetary is great, but what we want more as we continue collaboration is if you are gifted in arts, or if you're gifted in even media, like doing something like this, we need help with that too. So we're looking for interns. We're looking for anybody. We do have a health clinic, so anybody that's maybe in nursing or that kind of field that wants to help serve the guests in that way. So it's time and talents, I would say. Strongly encourage the community because we're part of this together, and it can only happen with our collaboration as a city and as a community, and especially with the church partnerships. It's very important.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the link below, or there will be links below to websites, Facebook pages to go get more information and just ways to get in contact with the Union Gospel Mission.
Yeah.
Ellie, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.